Hey, good evening. Hope everybody is doing well tonight. This is R.C. Blakes, and I wanted to break in tonight just to share something really briefly with you. And I promise you I won't be as long as I normally am. I was sitting there, and this particular thought was just kind of burning in my spirit. And I said, let me fire this thing up and talk to a few people tonight. I want to talk about baggage because so many people are hindered in life because we carry so much baggage. And I think I know we have to look at life like a journey. And one thing I've learned by traveling as much as I do is that baggage can slow your progress. Baggage can sometimes baggage can cause you to miss your flight. It can cause you to cancel your arrival in a timely fashion. And just in the natural process of traveling, one has to learn how to travel lightly. In life, the same. We cannot make this journey to destiny with all of these issues, carrying all of these issues and being weighed down with as much stuff as we are weighed down with. And the reality is that many people never arrive to their destination in life because of baggage, just things that you should have long ago rid yourself of, long ago put to bed, but for some reason you've maintained this and you've carried this throughout your life. Now, what is baggage? Let's look at that first of all, in the context in which we're discussing it tonight. It is a personal, listen to this, here's my definition of baggage. Baggage is a personal accumulation of issues, hurts, insecurities, fears, mindsets, bad experiences, and pessimism that are carried in the mind and the heart, which impairs the ability of the individual to function positively in life. Let me read that for you one more time. Baggage is a personal accumulation of issues, hurts, insecurities, fears, mindsets, bad experiences, and pessimism that are carried in the mind and heart, which impairs the ability of the individual to function positively in life. All of us, to some extent, possess some baggage. Now, the main thing we must understand is that baggage comes from one of three areas. Now, if you're writing, write this down. This is noteworthy. Baggage comes from one of three areas. Sometimes an accumulation of more than one area of the three. Number one, baggage would come from what we have done to ourselves. Baggage would come from what we have done to ourselves. By that I mean, things like relationships that we chose, decisions that we've made, things we've done to ourselves that have produced pain that has left a residue of misery and injury. Thank you, Pamela. Things we've done to ourselves. There's some of us that are wrestling in life and who are hindered from living our best lives or rising to our highest height because of things we've done to ourselves. And we have to admit that some of this stuff that I'm carrying is due to some things I've done to myself. Secondly, we accumulate baggage from what others have done to us, things that were outside of our control, things like, abuse, rejection, molestation, things that we just couldn't control, things that, others heaped upon us that hurt us to an extent that we yet find ourselves sometimes many, many years or even decades later carrying these things in our hearts and where? In our heads. But it was not something that I did to myself. It was something that the world around me did to me. But the thing about baggage is that it really doesn't matter. Well, let me give you the third one, social conditioning. What we've done to ourselves, what others have done to us, the direct negative impact of other people's behavior towards us, and then there's social conditioning. It's the environment that we grow in that fertilizes our mentality, our worldview, the environment, the society that we come up in, even shapes our self-view. And so in a lot of cases, my issues that I'm carrying through life are the consequence of the society that has what? Conditioned me. But as I was getting ready to say, it does not matter how we acquire the baggage. It is our responsibility to unpack it. Now, let me pause right there. It does not matter how we acquired the baggage. It does not matter how I acquired the baggage. It is my responsibility to unpack it. I may not have been able to control my history, but I have my hand firmly fixed on the steering wheel of my destiny. It does not matter how we acquired the baggage. It is our responsibility to unpack it. Baggage accumulates when we don't unpack regularly. Baggage accumulates when we do not unpack regularly, right? Meaning that there are issues that are, so deeply rooted that we don't even realize they are there. And it requires self-analysis, self-perspective all the time to dig that stuff up, to expose that stuff, and to ultimately dispose of those things that would live in our lives to hinder us from rising to our highest height, right? Now, number one, 3 things I'm going to give you in the next 15 minutes. Number one, I'm not going as long as I normally would. Number one is the baggage, and you'll find this a lot. You'll find this on the job. You'll find this in your families. You'll find this in the church. You'll find this in politics. You'll find this everywhere you may plant your feet. And it's what? The baggage of low self-esteem. People are carrying around, people are weighed down with the baggage of low self-esteem. Now, people who come with the baggage of low self-esteem tend to have a knack for, watch this, for avoiding or repelling people. They either become abrasive personalities, just all out there and abrasive, or they become reclusive. They just kind of withdrawn because of their low self-esteem. Now, what's dangerous about the baggage of low self-esteem is when a person takes that baggage of low self-esteem and they embrace the world with, with that broken consciousness, and they can tend to become people who are self-absorbed because they're trying to prove that they are better than everybody else. They take on narcissistic tendencies at times, I believe. At times, when there's low self-esteem, they always want titles. They always want the biggest. This is when that personality is extroverted. They always, want to shine more than the next person. They tend to carry a spirit of jealousy about other people who they may view as, internally, they may view as superior to them. They're struggling with what? Low self-esteem. A lot of times, women will find a man that struggles with low self-esteem. And if you come home and you make $5 more a year than he makes, he feels like his manhood is threatened, because of what? Low self-esteem. It often comes across as, when a person has low self-esteem and they're extroverted and they are, just out there, almost narcissistic, comes across as insulting or weird behavior towards others, when the reality is that there's something they are carrying in their psyche that has ruptured their self-view. And I see them all the time, and I'm able to deal with them compassionately. I don't judge their behavior. Like a lot of people, I'm not necessarily turned off. I'm tuned in because I can see beneath the surface, there's a need for some ministry. Your self-view has been ruptured. You're out here and you're behaving like you're, Mr. It, or you the queen bee, but the reality is that internally you really feel inferior. And all of this stuff that we're seeing of you is really just an act. The consequence is that all of their social moves and behavior are disguised or are to disguise this poor self-image. They are burdened with a need to act. Now there's a woman that Jesus met that had what I believe such baggage, and I talk about it all the time. It's the woman at the well, who Jesus meets, and she has in John 4:7-9. It says here, there cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus saith unto her, give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, how is it that thou, being a Jew, ask, water of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. She felt inferior because she was a Samaritan, and the Jews made the Samaritans feel as though they were inferior, even called them, when as far as calling them dogs, And there are some other things when you read the full context that would have made this woman feel inferior. And so she's questioning Jesus as to why he would ask her to give him something to drink. Sometimes people don't have friendships even because of personal issues related to the baggage of insecurity. And they sabotage every possible connection. People are genuinely and sincerely trying to connect with you, but because you don't have that view of worthiness within yourself, you question and you're suspicious of every move a person might make, and you can't accept anybody as genuine, anybody as authentic, because within yourself, that baggage of low self-esteem won't allow you to arise in your own consciousness, to view yourself as being one that is worthy. Going back to this woman in John 4:16-19, Jesus saith unto her, go call your husband and come back. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, thou hast well said, I have no husband, for you've had 5 husbands. And he whom thou now hast is not thy husband, and that sayest thou truly. The woman saith unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. So Jesus reads through all. Watch this. Jesus, like a sharp therapist, reads through all of the why you want, my water stuff, and he begins to identify her baggage. Her behavior is saying one thing, but Jesus is reading her internal settings, and he recognizes her baggage. He asks, where's your husband? And it puts her in a position where she has to explain that she's had multiple men. And Jesus said, yeah, you've had 5 husbands, which means she had been rejected 5 times, because a woman couldn't divorce a man. If she had 5 husbands, it means that she had been divorced 5 times. So 5 men divorced her and rejected her. And so Jesus gets to the heart of the matter, where the woman really is. Now why did this woman have so many, issues? She had low self-esteem. Why would a woman continue to put herself in the path, and then it goes on to say the man you got now is not yours? Why would she continue to submit to that? Low self-esteem. Low self-esteem causes one to diminish his or her self-worth, self-value, and put oneself on the bargain rack of life. Now, the negative behavior people demonstrate is the mere reflection of an inner root cause they have not resolved. Baggage comes with issues. How many of you that are watching me tonight, can really, when you really stop and think about it, and you get out of your feelings, and you get out of, taking things personally, can look around, maybe on your jobs, maybe in your family, maybe at your church, maybe in your neighborhood, can look around, and now you can, if you pay attention, you can see the low self-esteem reflecting itself, the baggage of low self-esteem reflecting itself in the life of someone that you know. I see this all the time. I hear people that pop off and, I'm this and I'm not going to take that, and I'll turn this place out. I deal with all that craziness even in church, man. And I'm just looking at them because, and I'm smiling because you're behaving one way, but I'm looking at the weight you're carrying, and it's the weight of low self-esteem. And so while other people are just turned off, and other people are just completely rejecting these people, and I don't want nothing else to do with that person, Pastor. No, I'm not working with them, I begin to pour into their self-esteem. I begin to build them up. I don't take their stuff personally. They just do everything they can to drive everybody away, and I refuse to go. I just stay in place, and I keep on loving them. And before long, you find them coming to the office, and they'll come with tears in their eyes usually, and they'll admit certain things, and I'll have the opportunity to say to them, I already knew that. Because the baggage of low self-esteem demands that a person does what? Encase him or herself in a false image of strength, superiority, to protect oneself, right? But it's a false sense of security. It's a false sense of. Number 2, it's the baggage of abandonment. These are the 3 I'm dealing with tonight are the 3 most, I believe, 3 of the most common forms of baggage that people deal with. Number 1 is the baggage of low self-esteem. Number 2 is the baggage of abandonment. It's amazing how many people are dealing with, just the emotional weight of abandonment. And, usually we think that only children whose father or mother or both left them struggle with the trauma of abandonment. But the reality is that, professional people who are doing extremely well financially and succeeding in their careers of choice have had people to walk out of their lives, have had friendships that ended and they don't even know why, and are still struggling many times with the trauma of abandonment or feelings of abandonment. Now, the image, is, when you look at what I'm talking about, the image is a lot of bags that are too numerous and too heavy for an individual to manage alone. and everyone else leaves. That's the image. That's I believe that's a good picture for one, mental picture for one to capture what a person that struggles with abandonment issues feels like. Here it is again. It's the image of a lot of bags that are too numerous and too heavy for any one individual to manage alone. Other people brought these bags, and then they leave these bags with this one individual, and then everyone leaves. And there's no way I can carry all of this by myself. So I'm what? Abandoned. It's when a man, shows up. It's when a man and a woman don't work out, but yet they've had a baby or babies together. And maybe he does send the check, but he doesn't show up for the boys' football practice, and he doesn't show up for the girls' recital. He doesn't help with picking up from the schools or so forth and so on. And now this woman who thought she was going to have a partner in this situation is by herself, and she feels like you brought all of these bags into my life and then you disappeared. Abandoned. As a pastor, I have to admit, and this is one, let me just say this. I have to admit that I have struggled with, thoughts of abandonment, because as a pastor, when you are a pastor for real, and you take what you do very seriously, you view your congregation, your membership, as your family. You really do. You love, and you're as connected to those people as you are to the biological family that God has given you. And, depending on depending on the size of your ministry, some pastors have a handful of people that may walk out on them in a ministry lifetime. Others will have hundreds. Some will have thousands. And, I guess the reality is that most will experience multiple hundreds that will really impact them like that. I've had hundreds of people that I thought would be in my life and in my ministry for the duration to just suddenly leave, and I have no explanation. I don't know why. I don't know what I did. I don't know where they're going. Am I just a bad preacher? Did I do something? Did I say something? What was I supposed to be somewhere that I didn't show up to? What did I do? And they're gone. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying to process this in my head, Thank you, Zakia, I think it is. I hope I'm saying that right. My glasses aren't working that well. And I'm trying to process this. What did I do? Why aren't you here with me anymore? Why? And then you finally grow up and you realize that everybody's not intended to be in your life for the duration. Most relationships have expiration dates on it. And as a pastor, there are a lot of people that God just uses me to call them into the body, and then they go and find the place where they are really supposed to be, But I would take it personally, and I would feel abandoned. Now, in some cases, actually, I actually was, because these are people that I had developed. Some of them were people I had developed very long, decades-long relationships with, and extremely close. And just poof, gone. Still don't know why. Now, there are more people who feel abandoned than we realize. To be abandoned is the feeling of having people you felt you could count on appearing to walk away at your most challenging hour. That was the case for me. It was like when my whole life was turned upside down. A whole army of people just left. Now, that would be cool if I did something wrong and you told me, but for you just to disappear when it looked like I needed you the most is traumatic. And everybody's not equipped to process that or to be able to deal with that. Listen to a quote by Martin Luther King. Jr. He says, in the end, it will not be the mean words of our enemies we will remember. Rather, we will remember the silence of our friends. Thank you, Shar. It will not be the mean words of our enemies that we will remember. Rather, we will remember the silence of our friends. We will remember the people who we thought would be for us and with us and help us. And those are the ones that came up missing. Now, the person who feels abandoned often becomes consumed with questions, like why? I just kind of went through some of them. What did I do? Here's another one. Why am I always forgotten? What's wrong with me? They live with an open wound needing closure. People that feel abandoned live with an open wound that needs closure. Now, if you look in John 5:4-6, there's a man in the Bible that, thank you, Nikki. There's a man in the Bible that was at this pool of that would be troubled. The waters would be troubled by angels. And anybody that got into the pool would be healed of their infirmity or whatever. I won't read the text. I'm just giving you the gist of the story. And so one day, this man had been there 38 years trying to get in, never could get in. So Jesus shows up and he says, man, do you want to be made whole? And he says, well, every time I try to get in, somebody gets in before me. Nobody wants to help me. He was stuck in his what? Abandonment. He was stuck in his abandonment. The answer, the solution to his problem was staring him in the eyes, and he couldn't recognize it because his mind was stuck on abandonment. I'm always the one they're abandoning. Everybody helps everybody else, but nobody helps me. Right? Now, the abandonment baggage contains, here's what's in abandonment baggage. This person is always skeptical. When a person has been abandoned, they're always skeptical. This is why I teach, men and women really, but I teach men how to love broken women. When a woman has been disappointed over and over and over again, you can't expect that you're going to step into her life and all of a sudden she's just going to be, wide open and ready to receive you and down with the whole program. No, if she has gone through some trauma and she's done some hard work to try to heal, she's going to be skeptical. You have to be patient enough to process that and to deal with that and to be able to help her to come, through that. And how do you do that? You build that bridge of trust through consistency. This person is also pessimistic about everything. They find, when people have been abandoned and they've not healed, they can find the negative in anything. You can bring them to heaven, man, and the streets are paved with gold, and they'll be talking about, yes, it's nice up here, but the streets shine too much. The streets shine too much, They're pessimistic. They're pessimistic, and sometimes it can become irritating, but you got to know a person's history before you begin to judge their behavior. I'll say that one more time. That should be a t-shirt. You got to know a person's history before you begin to judge their behavior. Okay. Number 3, this person will, in most cases, trust no one. They don't trust no preacher. They know they need God. They want God, but they don't trust no preacher. And so they'll come sit up in the church and they be looking at me like, for about a year straight, just looking. Ain't gonna get no offering, nothing. Just looking. And then finally, I'll build that bridge of trust. I'll build that relationship with them. And, most of the time what happens is they leave out of the church and they come to social media and they'll listen to some stuff I'm teaching on social media. And so then they'll start writing me notes. Yeah, I'm checking this out on YouTube or, Instagram or wherever they might see me. And say, yeah. You checking your pastor out? Yeah. And then finally they'll warm up a little bit because they have to see what? Consistency. They have to know that you're not a person that comes to take and run, right? They got to know that you're not a person that comes to take and run. Now, the third baggage, and then I'll be done for the night. Oh, Lord, my time is gone. I said I was going to be off here before now. Is the baggage of social conditioning. Number one, we said was what? The baggage of low self-esteem. Number two is the baggage of abandonment. And the third bag that people are carrying around unawares is the baggage of social conditioning. Many people are weighed down by the limitations and the labels that society has put upon them. Thank you, Nikki. If society tells you black people can't do this or that, you then embrace those occasions from that point of reference as opposed to your abilities and your qualifications. If society says white people can't do this or that, or Hispanic people or Asian people can't do this or that, whenever it comes down to you doing that, society has so ingrained this message into your mind, it's like you cower down and you dumb yourself down when it comes down to you doing that because society says you're not supposed to be able to do that. Society says that all black folk have rhythm. If somebody broke in his house right now and said, dance, dance good for your life, all I can do is fall on my knees and say, Lord, receive my soul. Brother, I don't have no rhythm at all. None at all. Now, on the flip side of that, I have some white friends that can dance the paint off the floor. Thank you, Miss Ramos. I got some white friends that can dance the paint off the floor. And they say, white boys don't have no rhythm. I got some white friends that can dance the paint off the floor. And here I am, a black man, been black for 55 years. So I've been black long enough that something should have kicked in by now. Brother can't dance for nothing. I don't care what kind of music you put on. Can't dance for nothing. You can't pay me to dance. Ain't nobody gonna leave out here laughing at me like that. But that's what society says. And so what happens is what? We're conditioned. We're conditioned by the limitations of our social circle, Yeah, okay. Everything we hear and see is tweaking our personal settings. We are being constantly conditioned. There's no greater example of how the baggage of social conditioning adversely impacts a person like the example we see. Somebody, you can do this. Thank you, you can do this. Then the example we see in Israel entering into the promised land. God tells them to go and spy out the land. They've come out of, watch this now, let me give you the backstory. They've come out of slavery. God delivered them out of the hands of Pharaoh. They've come through the wilderness 40 years. Now they're at the promised land that God promised them. And God says, go and spy out the land. They send 12 over, 10 come back with a negative report. It's found in Numbers 13, 31 through 33. It says, but the men that went up with him said, we be not able to go up against the people. This is the report these negative, pessimistic people are bringing back. For they are stronger than we. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, you can do this again, God bless you. Saying, the land through which we have gone to search, it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof, and all the people that we saw in it are men of a great stature. And there we saw the giants, the son of Anak, which come of the giants. Watch the last part. And we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. What was the problem? They had been delivered from Egyptian bondage by the power of God. God brought them successfully through the wilderness, brought them to the land he promised them. They go over there and they see these people and they come back with a report saying, the people are too great for us. We were like grasshoppers in our own sight. The problem was that even though God did all of those wonders for them in Egypt, and God brought them all the way through the wilderness and brought them to this promised land, their thinking had never been reconditioned from slavery. Their social conditioning, they were socially conditioned to think on the level of slaves. So when they were challenged to rise to the level of kings, they could not accommodate that concept. And so God said, okay, I see what's going on. I'm going to have to let this generation die off, and I'm going to bring your sons and your daughters in. Why did he have to bring the next generation in? They had never been conditioned to slavery. They had never had slave conditioning. And we don't realize it, but we are slave conditioned. Society has conditioned us to limit ourselves to little bubbles. This is why I say to young people, like young people just coming out of college or whatever, that before you lock yourself down into marriage and go to having babies and all of that, try to travel the world, go see other parts of the world, because even in the United States of America, we've been conditioned to see the world a certain way, and it ain't that way. And we limit ourselves based on what the news media tells us is reality in the United States of America, and there's a big old world out there that is so different than anything you can imagine, because your perspective is so small and you don't realize that society is constantly working to get you to miniaturize yourself, right? Watch this. The baggage of social conditioning creates issues of fear, self-doubt, and compromise. You're always afraid to strive for your dreams. So social conditioning, the purpose of it is to miniaturize you and make you afraid to strive for your dreams, to always make you doubt yourself, and to ultimately get you to compromise your future. That's what social conditioning does. You know, like as a black man, and let's just have a transparent moment. As a black man born in the 60s in the United States of America, can I just be honest, have a transparent moment? I never dreamed that I would ever see a president of the United States of America that resembled me. And when Barack Obama was elected president of the United States of America, I couldn't believe it. I was like in awe. But the beauty is, watch this. When I saw it happen, it's like it took the shackles off of my mind. And that's the beauty about breaking social conditioning, is exposure. When you get exposed, woo! When you get exposed and you get a chance to see what you never dreamed you could possibly see, it's like everything opens up for you. You take children, man, I don't care. You take children that were born in the ghetto and born in poverty, and you bring them and you expose them to better, you expose them to better education, you expose them to better living. You know what happens within them? Their internal settings are changed. Wow. Okay, let me finish this. Now, but most of society is serving to what? Most social conditioning serves to condition us negatively, which amounts to what? You desire greatness, but you will always talk yourself out of every opportunity to capture it. Thank you, Shar. You desire greatness, but you will always talk yourself out of every opportunity to actually capture it. When you've been socially conditioned to a certain level, It's like you want this, but you always talk yourself out of actually reaching. Another thing, life is riddled with excuses. When you've been negatively conditioned, you desire things, but you can always talk yourself out of it. Your life is riddled with excuses. You will over exaggerate every challenge. It's always the end of the world. Everything's the end of the world. You've been socially conditioned to do what? Stay at a certain level. And you don't even realize it. That's where most of your what am I looking for? That's where most of your consistent and repetitive relational choices comes from. You say, everybody's a dog, everybody's a this or that. No, everybody you choosing is. And we can look at your last 20 choices, if you got that many, and they pretty much all the same profile. Why do you keep choosing the same profile? That's what you've been conditioned to do. That's what you've been conditioned to do. And see, that's a product of the United States of America. You go to other parts of the world, women in particularly, well, both men and women are looking for character. In the United States of America, man is looking for a woman, for sexual purposes. He wants a woman that looks a certain way. He don't care if she have a brain or has any relationship with God. A woman wants a man that has some money, in this order, got some money and looks halfway decent. Got some swag. No reference to character. Thank you, Monique. You go to other parts of the world, people looking for character first. They want to know work ethic. They want to know what kind of family you come from. That's all about social conditioning. And you go to other parts of the world, people don't have all these different relationships like we have in the United States of America. Their relationships not failing like ours fail, so quickly, so many times. But it's all about social conditioning, and you don't even realize it. You don't even realize that I'm talking too long. Now, how does one unpack baggage? How does one unpack baggage? Number one, be honest about your private issues. Jesus had to get that woman at the well to be honest. And the way he got honest was he started pulling up her private issues. You got to be honest about your private issues. Number two, you got to feed your spirit a steady diet of God's thoughts or positive thoughts. And the most positive thoughts you can find concerning you are in the Word of God, in my opinion. At the end of the day, I'm a Christian and I read the book. The Bible is my document, and I read the Word to find out who I am. And I feed my spirit a constant diet of positive thoughts concerning me and who I am. This is why Romans 12:2 says, don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Your life is transformed to the extent your mind is renewed. And then thirdly, don't give voice to negative thoughts. Cancel them. This is how you begin to unpack baggage. Be honest about your private issues. Admit that they are there. Feed your spirit a constant diet of positive things. And then don't give voice to negative thoughts. Cancel them. In other words, when you know that you have certain kinds of baggage, think about what you're thinking about before you allow that thought to create an emotion or to create a behavior. Think about what you're thinking about. Don't give voice to negative thoughts. Cancel them. 2 Corinthians 10:5 talks about casting down imaginations. So you must rethink your thoughts. Think about what you're thinking about. And then number 4, finally, and I'm done, cancel toxic relationships. When you start looking at your baggage and then you look at these horrible relationships you have, and you realize that these relationships were the byproduct of this baggage, cancel toxic relationships. Cancel toxic relationships. Get people out of your life that only serve to drag you down. Period. Father, I thank you tonight for this time that I've had to share with your people. I ask you by the Spirit of God to take this word and to cement it to their hearts. Now, Holy Spirit, I thank you. I thank you for allowing your presence to manifest in the space that they presently are in. Those that are watching live and those that will watch the replay of this, allow your anointing to register in such a tangible way that they will sense you. And now I thank you, Holy Spirit, for the healing power, for you are the only one that can heal the heart. And I thank you for helping all of us to recognize our baggage and to unpack and to free ourselves. In Jesus' name, amen. Listen, I've enjoyed this time with you. I just wanted to share that with you. I know it's a little later than I normally would come to you. If you've not joined our family, our community, I encourage you to, subscribe to my channel, join our family. And when you subscribe, also hit the bell. You got to subscribe, then you got to hit the bell so you know when I'm coming on, you know when I've uploaded something. If you don't hit the bell, you'll always have to come back and check to see if I've done something. But if you subscribe and hit the bell, you'll always know when I'm on or when I've been on. And don't forget to stop by Amazon. Pick up my books. When you buy my books, you empower me to do everything that I'm doing. Pick up my books at Amazon. Don't forget to stop by my website, R.C. Blakes. Who is that? God bless you, practitioner. Is that right? I think I'm saying it right. Thank you so much. Stop by my website, rcblakes.com, and check out, I'd love for you to sign up for my mailing list. This thing is so dark. Olinda, God bless you. Thank you so much. Look at live events and check out our 2020 cruise. In 2020, we're taking QUEENOLOGY and everything Lisa and I are doing. We're taking it pretty much international. I'm going to do a few things around the United States, but we're doing the Western Caribbean cruise, July 19th through the 26th. We'd love to have you on that. If you go to the website, look under live events, click the link for the cruise, and it'll bring you to the information you need to get a response. We're also coming to London, and we're also coming to Canada. We're pretty much taking things international next year, and I'd love to have you to be a part of one or all of these events that are going to happen. I love you. I thank God for you. Thank you for all of my birthday wishes in July, all of my wedding anniversary wishes, October 1st, my pastoral anniversary, best wishes. I love you all. You all are a tremendous family. I thank God for you every day. And just know that Lisa and I are praying for you all of the time. And I hope to see you in some part of the country or the world sometime soon. Thank God for all of you that pass through the ministry, New Home Family Worship Center. Every week, people are here from really just about every week. We have international guests at our church, and that's an exciting thing. I love you. Thank God for you. Have a great night, and just know that you're on top and you're going higher. God has more in store for you. So I will see you at the top. God bless you. Thank you so much tonight.